All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of technology that you've absolutely seen in action, even if you never knew what it was called. We're talking about VHF radio. We're going to dive into what it is, how it works, and why it's so incredibly important for local communication, for everyone from emergency crews to event staff.
I mean, really think about it. You know the scene, right? You're at a big outdoor concert, a marathon, or maybe you see a local emergency drill happening. And you see all these people with walkie-talkies, just seamlessly coordinating everything over a huge area, and they're not using a single cell phone. How in the world are they doing that?
Well, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. They're using what a lot of people in the know call the everyday communication band. It's not some kind of secret, super complex tech. Nope, it's just a practical, super reliable tool that helps people get the job done.
Okay, so what is this everyday band we're talking about? Let's get right into it and break it down.
So, first things first, VHF, it just stands for very high frequency. And all that means is it's a specific slice of the invisible radio spectrum that's flying all around us all the time. We're talking about radio waves that vibrate somewhere between 30 and 300 million times a second. But that's just the geeky part, right? Now, that 30 to 300 megahertz range is massive. But for a lot of folks, especially amateur radio operators and local groups, this little slice right here, this is the real sweet spot, from 144 to 148 megahertz. You can kind of think of it as the main street of the local airwaves. It's where most of the action happens. All right, now listen up. If there's one single thing you remember from all of this, let it be this next part. Seriously, this is the golden rule that explains, well, pretty much everything about how VHF works. And that golden rule is line of sight. It's so simple, it's brilliant. VHF radio waves travel in basically straight lines, just like light does. The phrase you gotta burn into your brain is this: if your antenna can see the other antenna, you can probably talk to it. Simple as that. And the best way to picture this? Seriously, just think of a flashlight beam. Imagine you're standing on a hill on a dark night with a really powerful flashlight. Anyone on another hill who can physically see that beam of light, they can get your signal. But what happens if something big gets in the way?
Well, that's exactly what happens in the real world. If you've got a clear path, that signal is going to get through, nice and crisp. But the second a big hill, a skyscraper, or even a really dense forest gets between you and the other person, that flashlight beam, your VHF signal, it gets blocked. Just poof, gone. It doesn't bend around corners very well at all. So this whole line of sight thing, it's a double-edged sword, you know? It creates this really interesting set of trade-offs. VHF isn't the right tool for every single job, but for certain things, it is absolutely brilliant. Let's look at the good and the bad. So on the plus side, the audio is just crystal clear. We're talking crisp, clean sound, not that fuzzy static you get on an old AM radio. The antennas are way smaller and easier to manage. And here's a cool trick. You can use something called a repeater. You stick it on a mountaintop or a tall tower, and it catches your signal and blasts it back out, letting you talk way over those obstacles. And all of that, the small antennas, the clear audio, that's what makes it absolutely perfect for those handheld radios, what people in the know call HTs. It's why those event staffers we talked about can just clip their communication right onto their belts and go. But, of course, there's a flip side. That same line of sight rule, it's also VHF's biggest weakness. The very same hills and buildings that block a flashlight beam are going to block your signal, period. And that, by its very nature, limits how far you can talk. It has a much shorter range than other bands, like HF, unless you've got a repeater to help you out. Okay, so we've got the what, the how, and the pros and cons. So what's the bottom line? Where does this stuff actually get used in the real world? What are the killer apps for VHF? First off, just plain old local chatting. It's perfect for amateur radio club members who want to connect with each other across town, or even just a few neighbors who want a reliable way to keep in touch.
Then you've got coordinating events. This is that classic one we talked about. It's all about making sure security, logistics, and medical crews at a festival or a big race are all on the same page, instantly.
It's also amazing for managing convoys. You know, if you have a group of cars traveling together, maybe on a road trip or for an off-roading club, you can all stay in constant contact to coordinate turns and stops, especially where cell service is spotty or just non-existent. And this one is huge: emergency drills. When other networks like cell phones or the internet might get overloaded or go down completely, VHF provides a totally independent, totally reliable way for emergency response teams to practice and prepare for the real thing.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. See, VHF isn't about talking to someone on the other side of the planet. It's about talking to someone on the other side of the valley or the other side of town. It's dependable, it's direct, and it doesn't rely on anything else to work. It really makes you think, doesn't it? When all the other noise cuts out, what's your local lifeline?